I'd like to welcome everyone to the September 19th, 2022 Town of Monroe Board Meeting. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. I'd like to make a motion to open up the town board meeting of September 19th, 2022.
I'll second that.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McKenna, aye.
Okay. First item on the agenda, and anyone up here is more than privileged to speak after, but I'd like us all to stand for a moment of silence to honor Tony Completo, who passed away this year. Tony was our representative from Morangi, taking care of the garbage, negotiated us a contract as recently as July, which for the next 2 years has a 0% increase. He passed away last week. His funeral is tomorrow, 11 o'clock at Sacred Heart Church. I'm sorry, St. Anastasia, yeah. So let's just have a moment of silence for Tony. Thank you. Okay. Item 3.2. I tell you what, Sal, can you just go over the Food Truck Festival announcement quick first?
Absolutely. So October 15th at O&R Park, we will hold our second Food Truck Festival of the season, 11 to 6 p.m. We will have close to 20 trucks again, 3 or 4 bands, kids' activities, beer garden, live music all day. So it'll be a great community event, and the beneficiary of the day will be Monroe Gives, which is probably one of the best organizations in Monroe. Holiday season, they give back so much. So October 15th is the date. Please come out and support this amazing event. It'll be, once again, it's always great for the community, so come on out.
Check. Okay. Check. If we can all just go in the front of the dais here. Sit down, I didn't call you up yet. Get over here. Hey, you gonna leave me hanging after I said that? So it's with a heavy heart that the town of Monroe accepted the retirement of John Sherney, our highway superintendent. John came in, I believe, the same year that Mike and I came in as councilmen. And it's been a great revitalization of our highway department. They were really lacking for about 6 years, budget cuts, man cuts, and they were struggling to make ends meet and make sure that our roads were passable during, sometimes impassable, were passable during rainstorms, snowstorms, trees coming down. And John has done an admirable job since then. He's going to be missed. His efforts have just been infallible since he became highway superintendent. We thank you for all your efforts. We thank your wife, Lori, who obviously we know that's who runs the show and makes sure her driveway gets plowed first. But I'll give you one instance. There was a tree that fell down over on Post Road, and it was a weekend, and I called John, and he was like, no problem, we'll get guys out there, and two guys and John were out there within a half an hour to remove the tree, and that's the efforts he's made over his term as highway superintendent. So you will greatly be missed. I think we have a fine replacement for you. He was recommended by you and your boys at Highway. So we're presenting you with our traditional bridge at Horseshoe Falls. Yeah, bridge over troubled waters, yeah. It's not in the watershed, so if you were here at the last meeting, it's not in the watershed. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Dory, who will read the inscription on it.
So the plaque reads, "Successful is the person who leaves the world better than they found it, who never fails to look for the best in others or give the best of themselves. With grateful appreciation to John Sherney for 35 years of dedicated service to the town of Monroe, September 2022. And John, I can definitely say that you left this world a lot better than the way that you found it. So thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you. Here, Laura.
Lori, come up here. Lori, come up here. Come up here.
We got to take some pictures anyway, I guess, eventually here. But first of all, thank you all. Anne-Marie, we've been through a lot together many years. Not saying that you're old, but we have been through some ups and downs for sure, and we have seen some dramatic changes that really affected all departments. And we were lucky enough to get a board like this that came back and did the right thing. So, and again, myself and Tony and even everybody that's that's been close to me, and they understand that it's not us doing the job; it's the men behind us doing the work. And if it's not for them, you're nobody. So that's all I can say. But thank you all. I appreciate it.
Okay. Next up, we have the official swearing in of James A. Patterson, Jr., our new highway superintendent. If you'd like to come up, the clerk will swear you in.
I gotta raise your right hand and repeat after me, please.
You gotta hold this.
I, James Patterson,
I, James Patterson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New York,
of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of
the duties of
Town of Monroe Highway Superintendent.
Town of Monroe Highway Superintendent.
Pat, I just want to say on behalf of the board, there was a period of time where we were worried because we knew John was retiring and your name hadn't come into the mix. And, taking on this job is I know you're taking it on for the love of the job. You're not taking it on because of any ego. That's how John Sherney was, and we appreciate you stepping up to the plate, and we appreciate the fact that the highway employees and John had highly recommended you to this board. So we look forward to working together with you. I know that you've been out there. You're going to school tomorrow, and I say that, people, not because he needs to go to school. He's consistently trying to educate himself to improve what he knows and what would benefit the town of Monroe. So thank you. You have a great session up at class, and we look forward to things to come in the coming months and years. I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything.
I'm looking forward to working with you, not only on highway, but on water.
You'll do a great job.
Again, kudos to John. You took over a department that was in disarray, to say the least, and built it back up. And of course, we were happy to fund it after it had been kind of defunded for the better part of 8 years. And so, 8 new trucks later, you've hired some great new some great new people, and you're leaving Pat with a good ship. And Pat, I know your record speaks for itself, and we're fortunate to have you. And I know even though you're filling big shoes, we're confident you'll be able to do so. So congratulations to you, John, again, and we're going to miss you. And Pat, welcome aboard.
Hey, can we all, John, can we get a photo of you, Pat, and the town employees? I think that'd be apropos tonight. Yeah.
I think we do.
Pat would like to say 2 words, 2 more than John said during his whole tenure.
So I already thanked the board. This is my 3rd day in, and I think it's going to be a great run for me. Hopefully the board will feel the same by the time I'm done. But again, thank you, John, for your recommendation and for your support during this whole thing. And I look forward to following in your footsteps. And I just want to let the board and the people of this community know I am working for them, for the people. I'm not here for myself. I want to do the right thing for the people of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Pat. Okay, item 4.1 is we're in the public hearing session. If anybody has to leave, so you're not bored, please go right ahead. I don't want to bore you.
Now's the time.
Yeah.
Run.
So
Good night, everyone. Thank you for
Good
coming
night.
by.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I'll see you on the 15th.
Sully, thank you for being on time tonight.
Good
Night, John.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, man.
I told him to show up at 7 o'clock because I knew he'd be late.
All for him. We had an entourage.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I got you.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to open up the continuation of the public hearing to consider the adoption of
We've
local
already
law.
closed that one.
We only left it open for written comments.
Written
but
comments, right.
There were no written comments received.
No written comments received. Thank you for the correction, girls. Okay,
If there is a possible motion to adopt tonight, it's under 4.2. In executive.
in executive,
Under the executive folder.
executive folder.
Content.
Okay. Well, what is the feeling of in the purview of the board?
I think we can vote on it. This has been open for quite a while, and since there were no written comments, I think we're able to adopt this tonight, or vote on it at least tonight.
Okay. Are you making a motion, Councilwoman Bingham?
I'll make a motion that we, where's it, well, sorry, my computer's a little slow.
All right, I'll make the motion.
I'll just ditto it.
You got it?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Whereas the town board desires to adopt a local law repealing Chapter 42 sewer use of the town code and amending Chapter 57 zoning to establish a procedure for properties within a sewer district that do not have access to connect to the sewer may develop at densities consistent with sewer access subject to design and approval of adequate individual subsurface wastewater disposal systems. And whereas the town board acted as lead agency regarding the proposed local law as the sole agency with the authority to adopt the local law, and whereas the local law was introduced on April 18th, 2022, and a public hearing was opened regarding this local law on May 2nd, 2022, and such public hearing continued on June 6, 2022, June 21st, 2022, August 15, 2022, and September 6, 2022, and such public hearings remained open for written comments through September 16, 2022, and whereas all persons interested in desiring to be heard were afforded the opportunity to do so during such public hearings, and whereas the town board reviewed parts 1, 2, and 3 of the environmental assessment form, now therefore be it resolved that the town board follows Section 1, all whereas its paragraphs are incorporated herein by reference as though set forth in full. Section 2, the town board hereby determines that this action will not have any adverse negative impact on the environment and adopts the negative declaration in the form presented to the town board. Section 3, the town board hereby adopts local law number 6, entitled A Local Law Repealing Chapter 42 Sewer Use of the Town Code and amending Chapter 57 zoning to establish a procedure for properties within a sewer district that do not have access to connect to the sewer may develop at densities consistent with sewer access subject to the design and approval of adequate individual subsurface wastewater disposal systems in the form presented to the town board. Section 4, the town clerk is hereby directed to enter said local law into the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the town of Monroe, and give due notice of the adoption of said local law by filing the local law in the office of the Secretary of State in the state of New York. Section 5, the resolution shall be effective immediately.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Pool eye.
Cardone, aye.
Ankarel, aye.
Good night.
So moved. Item 4.3 is a motion to open up the continuation of the public hearing regarding the the proposed amendments to A Local Law E-V1 2021, amending Chapter 57 zoning to establish a two-family dwelling overlay for the area of the town of Monroe north of Route 17. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Angarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay,
No public comment?
nobody is signed up? Anybody want to speak on it? Okay, council, from what I understand, we have to neg deck this?
Yes, Super.
Okay. And,
Yeah, I would make we can neg deck it tonight, or?
yeah, we can neg deck it tonight. We don't have to close the public hearing tonight.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, we just got this back, so I'd like some time to look at it.
Yeah.
So before we do the neg deck, I think that's a negative declaration. People are out there going, "Hell, we talking about neg deck, that's a negative declaration for secret." So that being said, I think I'll make a motion that we put this off or continue it on 10/17/22 at 7 PM or shortly thereafter.
Second.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Angarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay. I'll make a motion to open up the continuation of the public hearing to consider the adoption of local law A-V1 2022 to amend Chapter 57 zoning concerning a heavy industry zone and the proposed amendments to the HI zone. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any just call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Angarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay.
No public comment?
No public comment. Anybody want to speak? Any comment from the board?
Yeah, again, I think this is something we have to look at a little bit more closely, so I'll make a motion that we hold it over to 17.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Angarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay. I'll make a motion to open the continuation of the public hearing to consider the adoption of local law F-V1 2022 to establish a registry of all rental properties in the town. Do I have a second?
Poole will second.
Did you get that, Madam Clerk? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Angarello, aye.
Okay.
No
Good night.
public comment?
Okay. Has anybody given any more thought to it? I know, Mike, you had represented, you were worried about some of the
Yeah, I think I had
parking
a brief
issues.
conversation with Mr. Nugent, and I think to talk to Mr. Zitt here, we need to tighten up a couple of things on that. Picking me up? There you go. Pick up a couple, we need to tighten up a couple of provisions with that, that currently aren't in form with the existing law. So I would make a recommendation, we put that off to the 17th as well.
Okay. So you make a motion that the continuation of public hearing will happen on 10/17/22 or immediately thereafter? At 7 PM or immediately
7
thereafter?
PM or shortly
Okay,
thereafter.
I'll
yes.
second that. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Angarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay. Councilwoman Bingham?
Have not heard anything else yet regarding grants for Water District 14.
Supervisor, do you need to make
Gotta-
a
we
motion
gotta
to
open
open the
up-
public hearing?
All right, I'll make a
Oh,
motion
8.
to open up the continuation of the public hearing in relation to the increase and improvement of facilities of Water District Number 14. Do I have a
Bingham
second?
to second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Angarello, aye.
Good night.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
So as I was saying, I have not received any more information regarding the status of any grants that have been looked into for this district.
Okay.
So I would make then a motion to keep the public hearing open. Do you want to have another one for October 19th, or do you want to?
Why don't you do that maybe on the, was it October 3rd?
The October
That's
3rd
the next
meeting?
October
Okay.
3rd. You think you'll hear back by then?
No, I don't think so.
All right,
So November then?
so then why don't you move it off to November?
November.
Go
what's the-
November 9th.
November 9th. Okay, so we'll continue the meeting on November 9th at 7 PM or as soon as practicable thereafter.
I'll second that.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Full aye.
Cardone, aye.
Gangrel, aye.
McKinnon,
Okay. I will make a motion to open up the continuation of the public hearing in relation to the increase and improvement of facilities of the Water District Number 8.
Bingham to second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Full aye.
Cardone, aye.
Gangrel, aye.
McKinnon,
For public comment?
No public comment. Anything else to add, Councilwoman Bingham?
No, I have not heard anything yet from the hydrogeologist, so again, I would like to keep that open until November 9th at 7 PM or as soon as practicable thereafter.
I'll second that. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Full aye.
Cardone, aye.
Gangrel, aye.
McKinnon,
Okay. Item 4.13, I'd like to make a motion to set the public hearing for the 2023 town budget on October 3rd, 2022 at 7 PM or immediately thereafter. The clerk was presented with the budget today. It will be online tomorrow, or is it online now?
Online now.
It's online now. So it's the preliminary budget. It will be, I said at 7 PM or immediately thereafter.
Full will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Full aye.
Cardone, aye.
Gangrel, aye.
McKinnon,
So moved. Okay, item 4.14 is a tax cap override. I'd like to set a public hearing date for that on October 3rd at 7 PM or immediately thereafter to pass a resolution to override the tax cap. Do I have a second?
if necessary.
Right, I'm going to say that after we second it, yeah.
I'll second it.
You'll second it.
If necessary.
Yeah, that's if necessary. Currently, we're about $900,000 over the budget based on submissions. It's a wish list. Doesn't mean anything until we get down to the nitty-gritty. There was one point when we first came and took office, we were over $1 million over. So this board knows how to be frugal, tighten the belts, and get things done. This will be probably one of the more challenging years because of all the rise and increases in the cost of services, cost of goods, as well as the cost of benefits to our employees. So that said, you seconded it?
Mike did.
Mike seconded it? Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Full aye.
Cardone, aye.
Gangrel, aye.
McKinnon,
So moved. Okay, I need a motion to accept the minutes of September 6, 2022.
Full will make that motion.
Bingham to second.
Any changes, alterations, corrections, additions? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Full aye.
Cardone, aye.
Gangrel, abstain.
McKinnon,
Okay, so moved. All right, we do have an audit of claims. It's a request for a budgetary transfer. There's two items. The first one is for the Monroe Park repairs and maintenance. We're going to transfer from account A007121-4303-00. We're going to transfer $16,611.25 to the Monroe Park equipment account, which is A007121-2000-00.
Bingham to second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Full aye.
Cardone, aye.
Gangrel, aye.
McKinnon,
Okay, so moved. Okay, that was brought from the floor. So under new business, before I forget, I want to bring this from the floor. So we had hired an HEO at our last meeting.
heavy equipment operator, for those of you that are wondering what an HEO is.
And thank you, Councilman McGinn, for that clarification. So,
For the
as
highway
of,
department.
what's that?
For the highway
For the highway
department.
department.
Right.
So as of September 19th, 2022, the highway department has requested Tim Finnegan be promoted to heavy equipment operator. His new rate of pay will be $29.66, which is 92% of the HEO pay, and that will go until November 15th, 2022, in which his rate changes to $32.10. That $29.66 shall take effect immediately until November 2023, when he receives his full HEO pay. So let me make a motion and I'll explain it afterwards. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So what happened was, when we hired our recent hire, Chris, and his last name, I can't remember, but he came on as an HEO. Tim Finnegan was hired as an MEO. When there's a position open for an HEO, it first has to be advertised within the department, which it was. Tim said he would like to apply for it, and John had said, based on his work history, we would promote him. And that came through, obviously, after the meeting, so we want to do this to not create any ill will, grievances, or what have you.
Part of the collective bargaining
Part of their
agreement
collective bargaining agreement.
with the union
So-
that represents the highway employees.
He
Correct.
has all the qualifications to be an HEO,
Yes.
so we're not
Yes.
doing anything extra. He's entitled to it.
Yes, and what happens is, so when you get hired, your first year is at 85% of the base pay for that position. Your second year is at 92%, and then in November of 2023, he will have completed 2 full years, which means you will get the 100% of that pay. So that's it. Anybody have any questions? Call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Angarello, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, item 7.1, Village of Monroe, you have a letter in front of you. The Village of Monroe has requested items 3 and 4 in the town highway budget to be removed from the village's portion of payment. So item 3 in the budget, which is maintenance and brush and some snow removal. I'm sorry, brush and maintenance has not been in the A fund for the last couple of years, so that isn't on there. The item 4, as council, as our council has consistently said, in order to get to the village, you can't take a helicopter, you have to travel over our roads, similar to what we pay to the county for their road maintenance of all their roads. So I don't feel any action is necessary, since item 3 is already out of the A fund.
This is a rite of passage that occurs every year where the villages ask the town to remove their, what they pay in taxes from our highway department, because they have their own. But as the supervisor said, the roads are used by everybody in both villages, so every year this request comes forward, and every year we deny it and move on.
Although last year we got the request
Very late.
in December.
Yes.
After the
I mean, it's a
budget.
valiant effort, and
Which
we
is
understand why you're
after the
saying
budget was
it, but
passed.
it's, we don't ask we know that people from the town drive on village roads, and we don't ask that they not, pay a separate tax for that, so. Anyway, that's just a little explanation there.
I would argue, though, on behalf of the village, that there is an argument that could be made. The town hall is within the bounds of the village, so town residents are forced to come into the village and travel on village roads. And those roads are cleared and paid for by the village residents. So for the same argument that's made for village people driving on town roads, the same argument can be made for town people driving on village roads. That's the one argument that I would make.
Correct.
Noted.
Duly noted.
All right, next, anything else on that item? No?
Do we need to vote on it?
No, we don't have to do anything, because item 3 is already out. Item 7.2, Somni Restaurant, which is going to be located in the old DeAngelis Hall on Lake Street, has requested the use of 2 parking spaces. The parking spaces will be on the plan there. They'll be the first 2 closest to the Bardonia Realty parking spaces. I'd like to get approval. What he wants to do is on a trailer, put a walk-in box, which will be movable. We had tried to get Bardonia Realty to swap spaces directly behind. We have not gotten a response. It's been brutal for both Sal and I trying to get an answer from the gentleman that owns that. So we came up with the alternative to temporarily, hopefully, put a walk-in cooler on a removable trailer in 2 spots that are in that area, just adjacent to it's 5 spots away from the back of the building. Right. And Brian has prepared a document that will be subject to approval in its final form. So we will be charging, it will be a license agreement for those 2 spots, and we'll be charging $125 per month to Somni. So I need somebody to make a motion, second a motion for the supervisor to sign and execute that license agreement.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Bring them to
second.
second. Discussion?
Go ahead.
There's no more paving. Everything's paved there, correct?
Everything's paved.
Yes.
The area's paved. Okay, that was my question.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
He's just using every bit of the inside of that building for a restaurant, bar, kitchen, and he just needs a little additional space. So we tried for months to try to get, Bardonia to swap spots so he could go right off the back of the wall, open up the back wall, put the walk-in cooler there, but to no avail. So this is the best alternative so he can keep moving and get that restaurant open.
Awesome. Okay. Call the question?
Bingham, aye?
Well, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Stankerel, aye.
Again, aye.
All right, so moved. Item 7.3, Badger water meter reading software. I know,
Right. It came in under $20,000. I'm just, again, waiting for my computer to load. I think it was like $19,960,
900.
was it, or something like that? So in order to make it a much more efficient process, these new water meters, if somebody calls and says, I'm selling my house, I need a final water reading, Highway doesn't have to go out there. The finance department can now press a button and they'll get a reading. So I think having these meters are absolutely the best thing that we could have. So I'll make a motion that we authorize the issuance of for the water heads from Schmidt and their software.
So wait, we're going out to bid for the water heads, though.
Okay, so then I have to amend that to say to go out to bid, the proposal to go out to bid for the water heads.
Because the water heads, although they're proprietary to the software and the current meters that are in the homes, we still have to, because of the cost of it, for all the districts, it's over $105,000, I think so. So we still have to go out to bid for it.
Right.
So do we have a second?
Well, second.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Well, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Stankerel, aye.
Again, aye.
Okay, so moved. Old business, Lake Sapphire Drainage District. I had a conversation last week with Tom Luddington from the homeowners association up there. They have hired an engineer to do the drawdown of the lake if necessary. They are also in the process of working with the DEC to clear the trees that have fallen along the embankment of the dam. I believe, I don't know, Ward, I was up there on Friday. I didn't see anything done, so you didn't see anything yet, did you? Okay. So once that's done, and the maps, plans, and reports are prepared by McGooey, Hauser, and Edsel for the Drainage District, we can set a public hearing and move forward with it. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Item 8.2, the infamous Mary Bingham Water District 1 pressure tank.
Okay, at our last meeting, we discussed a couple of options that water district could use to ensure that they would not run out of water. So I've been in communication with Tom Raby, our operator, and I got an email from him earlier today, and it says, sorry, I received a call back from USA Blue Book about $10,000 per tank and a year to receive.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and Steve Gagnon was here tonight, and I asked him, are other municipalities having a problem also with getting tanks or equipment for water districts? And he said it's not uncommon to hear that they are running into problems. So I know I've been trying to keep the board up to date on this. I'm going to set up a meeting probably with Tommy and maybe Sean, and now that Pat's on board, since he has a water license, to go over some of the options to see. Maybe we do have to do the skid, which was option number 3, or go back to possibly refurbishing the tank that, you know. So we want to keep the costs low, but we can't be waiting a year for equipment, and then you got to schedule everything else after that.
Yeah,
So I'll keep the board up to date on
You don't
what's
want to
going
wait,
on.
right?
Yeah, it's the pressure problems up there are getting,
Yeah.
because I live there,
Yeah.
are getting worse.
Yeah, because
Now,
the pumps keep running.
Yeah, because the pumps are just running, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you, sometimes the water comes out, it almost feels like it's like warm water coming out of the cold tap, because the pumps, I guess, are just like, constantly.
Pushing it through, yeah.
So, hey, Mayor, could you just refresh my memory? How long are we looking at if we want to refurbish the old tank from 12?
That's a couple of months, because it has to be sent out to Massachusetts. So, and then has to come back, and then that's another involved process, because that tank is bigger than the 2 smaller tanks that are there now, so we need Board of Health approval to
Okay.
expand the back of that building probably, or go out on the side.
Yeah.
So that's why I said I really want to have a much more detailed meeting with the highway water operators and see what we can work out as quickly as possible. The third option was to get the skids. And again, that's going to need Board of Health approval.
All right, thanks.
Thank you for your efforts there, Mary. I know it's been an arduous process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots
Okay.
of old stuff.
All right, item 8.3 is the town E-code regarding tree preservation. You should have gotten today a copy of it. It's a draft. We have to set a public hearing tonight. I'd like to set that public hearing. I'll make a motion to set that public hearing for October 3rd.
Second that.
I spoke to Max Stack, our planner. He will be present on October 3rd, and he will have, obviously, explanations for everything associated with it. There was a bit of hypocrisy in it that he felt really needed to be changed and tweaked, and there was also some clarification with some of the trees that would assist in 1 lot and 2 lot and subdivisions and 3 lot. It really is generic, so it really affects everything. So.
One thing I would like to say is John Ebert, who wrote part of that last tree code, he was the Monroe Conservation Commission chair at the time.
Yeah.
So, a lot of thought and effort did go into the existing code. So we really have to be careful, because we've seen a lot of trees cut down that should not have been cut down over the years.
Yeah, and this is not something that's just given a free-for-all.
Right, that's why I
There's
said it needs a
still-
lot of thought.
There's
Yep.
still protection, and I'll give you one example, because I know last meeting, the woman in the back had questioned why was it generic, and one of the explanations that Max gave me was, so if we targeted it for a 3-lot subdivision and somebody had 50 acres, they can do multiple 3-lot subdivisions on
Right,
that 50 acres, which would create a problem.
Right.
Subdivided up.
So,
That's why I said a lot of thought has to go into this.
And Max did put a lot of thought. He was trying to get it to us on Friday or Saturday, but there was just too much that he had to double check and research, so. Madam Clerk, can you put that on the draft on the website tomorrow? And,
It is on the website. I did it this
It is?
afternoon, I believe.
okay, thank you.
It's the most efficient town clerk.
Yes, yeah, without a doubt.
Amazing.
Without a doubt. And you got to see her run away from bears. Oh, my God.
Was he here again today?
No,
He
he
was
was-
apparently last
He
week.
was, last week he was
Okay.
here. Okay, so I'll make a motion, like I said, for October 3rd public hearing.
Poole, second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
And I,
So moved. Item 8.4, Chapter 23 of the Town Code regarding building construction administration. Councilwoman Bingham?
Basically, we need to vote on this. We held public hearings back in November of 2020, and they were closed, and we were waiting for written comments. And one thing led to another, and it's still hanging out there, so we really need to get this approved, because the building inspector says the state is again changing its building codes. So I believe all the information that was done back in '20 is still current. So
Yes,
we
so-
can vote on it.
Yeah, so what Ben said was that once we adopt this, he'll then review the changes that'll come into place in December, and we'll make adjustments after
Right,
that.
then they should be much minor
Yeah.
changes, right, so.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll make them, I guess you have to make a motion to.
To approve it?
To approve it. Make a motion to approve Chapter 23 of the Town Code, Building Construction Administration.
I'll second it.
There is a resolution.
There is.
Yes.
Okay, wait for my slowpoke computer again.
Okay,
I have it.
I got it. You got it,
yeah,
Counsel?
do you have it, or, I mean, I have it here.
Yeah, I'm just going to read the
The
whereases.
Right.
You know what? Your voice sounds a lot better than mine tonight. Go ahead.
Resolution adopting local law number
7.
7 of 2022 to amend Chapter 23 of the Town of Monroe Code for Building Construction Administration. Whereas the Town of Monroe, the Town Board of the Town of Monroe, New York, from time to time reviews its laws, rules, and regulations to be certain the same are consistent with all current lawful practices as well as best practices to protect health, safety, and welfare of the town residents. And whereas the town board desires to adopt a local law to amend Chapter 23 of the Town of Monroe Code for Building Construction Administration, and whereas upon notice duly published and posted, a public hearing was held on said local law on August 31st, 2020, and continued until September 21st, 2020, October 5th, 2020, November 5th, 2020, and November 16th, 2020, wherein public discussion was heard concerning the merits of said local law. Whereas the public hearing was closed on November 16, 2020, and the public comment was left open until November 30th, 2020, for any written comments, at which time the public hearing was closed for all purposes. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the town board as follows. Section 1, all whereas paragraphs are incorporated herein by reference as though set forth in full. Section 2, the town board hereby adopts local law number 7 of 2022 entitled to amend Chapter 23 of the Town of Monroe Code for Building Construction Administration. Section 3, the town clerk is hereby directed to enter said local law into the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the Town of Monroe, and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law by filing the local law in the office of the Secretary of State in the State of New York. Section 4, this resolution shall be effective immediately. The question of the adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly put to a roll call vote, which resulted as follows.
Call the question?
Who made the motion?
Well, yeah,
Bring back.
Bingham to
you're
second.
making that motion. Bingham to second, sorry. Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
And I,
So moved. Okay,
Supervisor, before you go on to public comment, last meeting you had requested a quote from Confidential Shredding.
yes.
So under old business, this is the shredding recycling event that is taking place at the Highway Garage, 87 Mine Road, on Saturday, October 29th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The fee for confidential shredding is $650.
Okay. That's in addition to the electronic
The
shredding fee of
electronics.
$750?
Yes.
Okay. And what time are they going to be there from?
9 to 12.
Okay. That's in your budget. We don't need a resolution for
No.
that, right? Okay. All right.
the update.
Thank you very much. Public comment?
Carol Hawkshurst.
Okay, that's fine. I'm assuming Matt was on the list, right? Okay. Go through the motion, state your name, please.
Matthew Ladka, 1345 Orange Turnpike, here in Monroe.
Thank you.
You know, I guess a couple days ago, I actually was sitting, I laugh about it, but I was sitting watching the town board meetings on the local channel, which I think was, it's important to see that. Didn't really know about it before, but I was looking over what we, our public comments before, and I find that there's some questions that we think that we're getting answers to, but we don't really have answers to. And the one that I have a question about here is on the Rye Hill Preserve, of course. Does the developer, Sunbrook, have a time limit on, and it seems like we've been asking this question, but I just can't find the answer. Do they have a time limit on how long they could present or come back to the board with their proposed project? Or is it indefinite? Can they come back 3 months from now and present the project? Can they come back 1 month from now, a year from now? Or is there a time limit that they have and they have to start all over? I guess that's my first question.
Matt, would you like, I'll answer that question. So I thought I answered it out there, so if I wasn't clear, I'll try to make it clear.
No, and I
then.
understand we were back and forth,
Yeah.
but I didn't,
So-
it was not
No,
clear
no
to me.
problem. No worries. So here's the deal. There is no time limit. They could take 6 months to come back. They could never come back. We're not pursuing them to come back. If they want to come back with another plan, they'll come back with another plan. And at which point, what the process is, they come back with that plan. We'll take that plan. We'll give it to the planner. We'll give it to the attorney. They'll review it, see if it's complete. If they both agree that it's complete, they'll give it to us, and then the process will start again. And so there's no time limit where they can or can't come back. And as of right now, we have not heard from them, so we don't know what their intentions are at this point.
And that's the current plan you're talking about? I mean,
Well, no, so the current plan.
This current plan, how long can they come back with that?
Yeah, so the current plan, the planning board found to be inadequate, had a bunch of concerns with it. Our attorney contacted their attorney, Mr. Buss, and said, hey, based on these concerns, we're not going to move any further with it, meaning the town board, and said, if you want to come back with an alternate plan, be our guest. And they had indicated that they intended to do so, but we have not heard back from them. And that's where it stands right now. And so if they do come back, like I just said, we'll take what they present, we'll give it to our planning, our professional planner who wrote the law, who knows the law much better than me or anyone else on this board, and we'll give it to our attorney. They'll review it to see if the plan that they're now presenting, their new plan, conforms with the letter of the law. And then if that's the case, we'll start reviewing it, and then that starts the process again. So does that answer? You're pretty good with that? Listen, I know I wish I could tell you, hey, they're coming back in 3 months, they're never coming back. We just don't know. And it's not like we're sitting there, chasing people down, Someone else could come through. You know what I mean? I mean, someone out of...
I understand that.
You could have a national bill, you could have someone else come through and say, and again, we don't own the land. It's owned by the people that currently own it. So really, it's up to any other entity that comes forward to hook up with the current owners and say, hey, we'll enter into some type of contract outside of our purview that we have nothing to do with. And then if they agree on it, well, then another person another entity could come forward with it, another developer. And then it would be the same thing. They would present their plan, we'd give it to the planner, we'd give it to the attorney, they would opine on whether it conforms with the letter of the law, and then the process would start again.
Okay, and obviously, if something ever comes back, it doesn't necessarily have to always be referred to as the Rye Hill Preserve. It would be whatever they would want to call it.
People,
They could
listen,
change
I'm
the
not a
name.
developer, they change names all the time.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
and I
that's
don't know, listen, whatever comes back will be subject to the
Yeah,
same open hearings and town board, and if that happens, well then, like I said, when I was out talking to, all of you, the last meeting, we'll have a meeting on a Saturday morning and sit down and go through it, and people can come here and sit here, look at it, and go through it, and, we'll, that doesn't replace the whole public hearing process and everything that comes as part of the law, but that's where, that's how it will be handled. So
And-
everyone will have plenty of input into it.
And be aware that if somebody does come in, whether it's Sunbrook or somebody else with a different name, obviously this town board will make everyone aware, formerly known as the Rye Hill Preserve.
That's all we're asking.
Nobody here is looking to pull the wool over your eyes and try to pull a fast one and, play a game of cards that, we're hiding underneath the table. That's not going to happen.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Carol Hawkshurst.
Good evening, Carol.
Carol.
So just piggybacking on what Matt had asked, some questions came to mind. Would Sunbrook, would they have to redo the application? If they were going to revise what they had there, would they have to redo the application? Or,
I mean, really, anything they come back with is going to substantially be a new plan. So, yeah, I would say, and again, I'd have to talk to council, whether it's a new application or not, we're going to be treating it as a new submission and taking it step by step by step.
maybe be completely different?
Yeah,
even how they-
absolutely,
Because it was
yeah.
an incomplete application somewhat, anyway.
Somewhat,
so,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's going to be, we're going to start from scratch with whatever's presented and go through it. You're welcome.
So as far as, I don't know if you can answer this question, as far as the lawsuit, is there a deadline from my understanding, there was an agreement to have CCR zoning potentially in certain areas around the town, not all, but just the half mile from the village. And maybe it's wrong information, I just want clarification, like is there a deadline? I guess in my mind, I'm just wondering, is this just going to go away? Is this nightmare going to go away?
I mean, listen, I wish there is no, there were deadlines, I guess, between, from what I understand, and I haven't seen their contract of sale between Sunbrook and the current owners. I want to make sure I'm getting caught on the mic here. They had time limits. I don't know what those time limits are. So the CCR, just to kind of be clear, the CCR wasn't developed to answer out the lawsuit. The CCR,
Just so everybody's aware, the CCR stands for Cluster Conservation.
they all know that, but when you're saying HEO and everyone's looking like, what the heck is an HEO? Yes, so the CCR, which everyone here now knows what CCR stands for.
We've learned all about it.
Oh, yeah. We sleep and drink and eat
I wish I
CCR.
never knew about it.
You and I both.
Yeah.
So So that was not part of the lawsuit, and I got to kind of be careful what I say because it is still.
Oh, and I
you know.
respect.
So what we saw back when we came up with it was a good way to, kind of a good way to give the town, like, unparalleled control over development in large tracts of land, of which we identified there were probably 10 or so left in the town, roughly. And if people wanted to avail themselves, meaning developers wanted to avail themselves of the CCR, which gave them somewhat greater density, but also preserved 65% of the total acreage, then yes, they would, you know.
Can we eliminate CCR completely as the town board at some point? Instead
eliminate
of
the
just
word or the law?
The whole idea within our, because not every town, or change it, maybe modify it so it's like 85% conservation, you know,
Well,
and 15%.
well, listen, I'll tell you, Carol, I mean, a lot of research and thought went into this law. You know what I mean? It wasn't, and again, I think the law itself is a very, very, it was groundbreaking, you know, from a planning standpoint, used elsewhere, and something that I still think to this day is extremely beneficial to this town, that if you take a parcel of land, whatever it is, however many hundred acres, and 65% of that stays forever free, and 35% is developed, I wish, when they were talking about this in 2004 in Wright Hill, I wish that was part of it. Because back then, there were no setbacks, there were no buffering, there was nothing. There wasn't even a park in the middle of those developments that would have been left open. Now, you've got watershed protection, you've got ridgeline protection, you've got all sorts of things built into that law. I know, listen, I know you live there and you're not happy about it. I get you. But there's
Well, I was going to say that. I just know I only have 3 minutes. I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay.
No, I'm listening.
No, that's all right. But there's a lot of positives. Senior housing, workforce housing, all sorts of things that were never thought of and never put into it. So I don't think you want to throw the baby out with the bathwater is what I'm saying.
So just on a final note, why would you say it's in the interest of our community when people continue to clearly speak out against it? The only people showing support for this are those, the community is speaking out against this, and we don't feel it's in our best interest. And then why would you say it's the interest of our community when people continue to clearly speak out against it? The only people showing support for this are those having a potential financial or political gain, and neither of those motivations speak to the needs of the community.
Well, I'll tell you, I live on High Ridge Road, which will be affected by this. The vast majority of my neighbors are all for it. They think it's great. They want to come down here. I'm not telling them to come down here because that's not how I roll, all right? As far as political or financial, do you think this is helping me political?
I'm not saying with you directly.
Carol, let him finish,
I'm just
and then,
saying it's not
I'm not
you
gonna,
guys.
Carol, I'm not gonna cut your 3 minutes, I won't do that.
Let
But
me
let
just
him
say,
finish, please.
This doesn't benefit us at all right? I mean,
I'm not saying it
politically,
does.
financially, I mean.
Wasn't saying that
that's-
towards you.
I mean, listen, none of this benefits us. What it does benefit is the town and the people that live here, and the seniors, and the people that we hope to keep here, our young workers, our first responders. That's what it's about. And what it's about is preserving 65% of the entire parcel, which a lot of people may have been here for the earlier meeting about watershed protection. Well, you know what? This law was designed with protecting Mumbasia Lake. And I mean, I think that people just have to kind of put aside, and again, I know you think everyone's opposed to it, but there's a lot of people that are very for it. You're shaking your head, but I know what you're, listen, I talk to people all the time, so.
I do too.
So.
But
yeah.
I'm not getting it, I'm not trying to get into a disagreement. I know that you firmly believe that this is something the town needs. And I just wonder, are there other ways to protect the watershed that haven't been thought about? And we
I'm
did
gonna
this.
give you one more minute.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And we did discuss the idea of us, maybe eventually having a meeting, and that we still haven't had that. And that's just with a few people to meet with a few town board members, just to have some more discussion about our thoughts, because I don't think that's been given a chance, and I would like that. No, and yes, I'm giving my opinions,
No, I
but I'm
got you.
talking about
Yeah, no
more. I know you've done a lot of work, and I appreciate what you guys have done. I know you've done a lot of work with this, but at the same time, many don't agree with it, and I know you say differently, but I have numbers that show different, so.
Well, listen, I respect your opinion, as
And I-
always, and
Thank you.
we've talked, online, offline about this, and when and if another plan is presented, then yes, we will definitely have a sit-down so we can look at it, debate the pros and cons of it, and take it from there.
I appreciate that,
listen,
and I know
you're-
others appreciate
I'm
it.
not, that's our job, and we're as elected officials, we're happy to do that, and that's what should be done, and that's the way it should play out, and we will do that, so,
Thank you.
all right? You got it.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Carol Scully.
Good evening.
Carol Scully, Berry Road, resident of Monroe for over 46 years, prior to that 6 years in Highland Mills. And thank you for this opportunity. This has been on my mind for a long time. I would like to begin by saying thank you to our supervisor and the current town board members. They do not deserve the malicious, libelous remarks being said about them. In particular, on social media, the misinformation and the rumors that are posted on these sites astounds me and does much harm to the town and to its people. This board did not cause the challenges that are before us today. This started decades ago and escalated into the current problems we are faced with. How do we control the growth of our town and preserve our small town character? This is a monumental task given the obstacles being thrown at us, like the current litigation. We elected this board to face these challenges and do everything they can to slow our growth and keep the peace. And in my opinion, they have put their heart and soul into doing what is best for the town. The board is between a rock and a hard place. The town is between a rock and a hard place. It is up to us to come together and do what is best for the town's future. I would like nothing better than to see the Rye Hill project land purchased by someone who will keep it in its natural state. Let the wildlife live, let the trees flourish. Unfortunately, we are not in the perfect world, and this is not the reality of the situation. This is private land. It's going to be developed. No one can stop it. We have to decide, though, which way do we want to go? I am not in agreement with the extreme original plan of this high-density project, but neither was the planning board or the town board. Compromises are going to have to be made on both sides, and they are being made. But people, we have to come together. Division in the town is going to destroy us in the end. What's the old saying, divide and conquer? Do you really want to be conquered? Personally, I believe it's 160 plus acres of green is better than zero, because zero green is probably what we're going to get if individual homes are built on this land. It only takes 500 votes to create another village in the state of New York. 500 votes. Do you want another village? That is why I urge you to think long and hard of the repercussions that possibly can occur if we do not do all that we can to prevent this from happening. I read somewhere the following: a fact is information minus emotion. An opinion is information plus experience. Ignorance is an opinion lacking information, and stupidity is an opinion that ignores a fact. Let's try to stick to the facts. We will be in a much better position to make the difficult decisions to ensure the future of Monroe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Lawrence.
Good evening.
Hi. Tom Lawrence. One of fifth generation Monroe. I live in Osseo Park. You guys have talked with my brother Andrew a few times, I imagine. I talk to him a lot too. This is great news tonight that this thing is on hold. I have a whole thing here on George Pataki and his creation and passage of the Clean Water, Clean Air Environmental Bond Act. This has been carried through since 1996. I benefited from this when I lived in Schenectady. This Clean Water, Clean Air Environmental Bond Act funded cleanup of brownfields in an effort to revitalize distressed cities in New York. Cities like Syracuse, Utica, Schenectady, Binghamton, Poughkeepsie, Newburgh, Yonkers, I don't know about Middletown. But the funds were to provide shovel-ready sites throughout the state's distressed cities. I benefited from these funds while I was in Schenectady, and I became a partner in a new office building that was constructed on a former brownfield. IDA funds were made available to us, and we agreed to a pilot, payment in lieu of taxes, for 10 years. The Rye Hill Preserve Project belongs in a city. It doesn't belong out here in a pristine woodland. I don't know if the developer has reached out to Newburgh or Poughkeepsie or Middletown or any of these other cities to look at shovel-ready sites, but they're out there. It belongs in a shovel-ready site. Now, I understand the town can't buy this land. I get it. There's no money to buy this land. But there are funds out there. There are federal funds available, there are state funds available. I asked Senator Skoufis and Assemblyman Barabnik, is that how you say his name? Barabnik?
Bravenik, yes.
Yeah, I wrote to both of these guys, and I wanted to know what their reaction was, when the town requested to help to find some of these funds. I haven't heard back from them yet. You may not like this, but the senator from New York, the senior senator, is the Senate Majority Leader of the United States Senate, regardless of what his politics. We know that Schumer sees himself as a protector of New York. Just last month, Biden signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act that provided more funds for environmental conservation. What does Schumer have to say about this? Has his office been contacted to pick up this land and conserve it? On the first page of the original proposal for Rye Hill Preserve, the developer stated that they have a deal with the Orange County Land Trust. There was no such deal. That was a false statement. The project should have been thrown out on that statement alone. Why, and I'm glad we're not going to be talking about this for a while. You'll notice that the land up on Rye Hill Road is not shovel-ready. You'll notice that. I just want to mention one more thing, Supervisor, if I could. Sunday, this coming Sunday, the Friends of Walton Lake is having their shoreline cleanup again this year. Thanks for your help last year.
Yep.
And we'll be out there on Sunday. So honk your horn, say hello, or pick up a garbage bag and help us clean up Walton Lake.
Thank you.
I just want to respond to one of your statements, the one you made at the end. So the Orange County Land Trust, Tom, when we drafted this law, when we sat with the litigants to come up with an agreement, they were there and present. And Jim Delhane, who was there and who's a great man, came and said to myself and Tony, thank God you guys are on the town board.
Well,
I know what they're saying now, but Jim's not on the board. And he was the executive director. He was the executive director at the time. And listen, he's a great man, and we love dealing with him. They've had a changeover there seems to be some amnesia on their part. I think,
Well, that's more than amnesia.
yeah, it is, and it's kind of concerning to us. So, I mean, met with them numerous times, walked the land with their people. So I don't know where that's coming from.
I'm
And
going to tell you, I walked the land twice, once with Jim and another time with, I forget his first name, Matt Decker.
So-
Matt has since left the Orange County Land
Right,
Trust.
yes.
And what I was told, and it wasn't told directly to me, I'm getting his hearsay, is Matt doesn't remember any of it. Now, I sat in an Orange County Land Trust board meeting. I was the only one there. Matt was not on the board. They asked me, since they asked Matt to leave the room, I actually said, no, we need him in here because he's the one that walked the land. They asked him to come back in. So, what they're saying now, I get the fact that Sunbrook stated there was a deal. There was never a deal. There was just a lot of discussion.
It was in their proposal. It was first page of
Yeah,
that proposal.
and they have admitted that that was a mistake on their part. They shouldn't have said that. What they should have said was that there have been discussions. Orange County Land Trust is in favor of it. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Jim?
Originally, Tom, when we had the National Development Corporation, who I'm sure you're aware of their work and what they've done with urban renewal and everything else, they were part of this project at the beginning and shopping it around to various entities. And at that time, the Orange County Land Trust was on board to be the
Charge of the receivership of the land.
Yeah, take receivership of the land.
To
What
to
changed?
protect it.
I don't know. Okay. But I'm just telling you, I know what you're saying, but that's,
Okay.
there's some conflict there.
Then I'll offer this to you. How can I help secure some of these funds that are out there?
So here's what I'm going to tell you. I have reached out to multiple people. I did not reach out to Brabenek, although we did have discussions on a possible grant for it. Our grant writer and Carl Brabenek have both stated they have not seen more than $500,000 offered for land preservation to anyone in the state of New York. Now, does that mean that it won't happen? No, it doesn't. Your brother had Andy and I had a conversation where somebody did get to purchase a parcel and it was in the millions of dollars. I don't remember the details, but there was a caveat involved which provided leverage for that municipality to purchase that land. So maybe if you speak to Andy, you could get those details from him. So listen, we want nothing more than to be able to do that. But you also have to understand, the owner of the parcel, as Mike has said many times, he's the one that's got to say yes to it.
Oh, absolutely.
They're the ones that have to say yes to it.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, I mean, it's not
And
just
we can, if the town feels it's in the best interest of the community, we can put it out for referendum and say, hey, listen, but we'd have to obviously get into a deal with the owner, a potential deal, and then put it out for referendum and have the residents vote on it.
Is it owner or owners?
It's an entity.
Owners, it's an LLC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's multiple owners.
Yeah, all right.
But again, they'd have to agree to a price of which would probably in the 16 to 16.5 million, which would then go back to the taxpayers, which would be roughly how much, Tony, per household?
What was that? I missed the question.
If we were to bond it out, what was the number?
It was.
I don't
was
think.
It was in the $600 to $700 range per year for 20 years.
The town can't do it. The count. I understand that. I get that. But these funds are being touted by everybody, by Biden, by our governor.
I guess we're not politically connected enough to get it. So if you can get that done, Tom,
Hey, you think I'm connected? No.
If you want to, listen, if you want to reach out to someone.
I will then.
And loop me in on it, loop Mike in on it, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
And the only reason I say Mike and I is we're trying to keep it streamlined so that there's not 5 different people talking up here.
Okay.
Just with this.
The one thing I might have a benefit of is I still have friends upstate. Assemblyman Jim Tedesco, I know these guys.
Okay.
And he can steer me in the right direction, too.
That'd be
Listen,
great.
your idea of friends upstate and mine are different. When I say friends upstate, they're usually in jail, so.
Mine are.
But your friends are in Albany, so I get what you're saying. It just kind of hit me as you said that.
Yeah,
so.
I will pursue that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will pursue that. Thanks a
All
lot,
right.
guys.
Thank you
All right.
very much.
Take
Great
care,
job.
Tom. Thank you.
Susan Stewart.
Osseo Park, Park on Walton Lake in the town of Monroe, and I moved here just last year.
Welcome to my.
Yep, welcome to Monroe. Just get closer to the mic, please.
Or you can pull it close to you.
There you go.
Is that better?
That's
Much
perfect.
better.
Perfect.
Tough act to follow back there, but in any event,
Nah, you're better looking, don't worry about it.
I came here to be closer to family, my extended family. I sometimes admit that. And also, I wanted to be part of a rural community. I came from upstate, but I was part of a rural community where I saw a lot of development gone wrong. And one thing that really struck me when I moved here is the Friends of Walton Lake cleanup. One of our neighbors organized it so that we pulled out about 2 million tons, I guess was the guesstimate.
2 tons.
Oh, well, okay.
2
A couple of
tons.
zeros here and there.
It probably felt like 2 million tons.
Felt like I didn't do all that much moving, but and that was by our neighbor contacting the town of Chester to get a dumpster, so because that's their water supply, and that we could, use their dumpster. And you, Mr. Cordone, came by, and we didn't know what we could do with the 56 tires because Chester couldn't take those. I think it was kind of a nice coincidence that you're honoring the highway department tonight because it was the highway department that you enlisted to come get those 56 tires.
Yes.
And again, as the
We'll do the same this year. Hopefully it's not 56.
Hopefully not. We've been keeping up with it.
Yeah.
And again, this year, we have this weekend and next weekend, we have another cleanup coming. But my point is, I was very much struck by the engagement in the community action coming together to clean up the environment, and that 2 townships worked so, seamlessly across each other, just, yeah, we'll pick up the tires, yeah, here's the dumpster. I thought that was great. And it's a big reason why I voted for you in my very first election in Monroe.
Thank you.
So I'm really glad to hear that you have sent back the application to the developer saying that this will not go, this will not stand, and that they will have to make another application. I can appreciate to some extent, because I can't unknow really the work that went into what you did to apply the CCR zone, the flack that you took, because you have a lot of people, as you know, who are just fierce defenders of the environment here. And I'm just glad to hear tonight that that application has been sent back, knowing that another may be coming, and that I hope that you will give the same consideration Monroe preserved, the lake region. And I am hopeful that Mr. Lawrence will be able to find the appropriate people to contact, because I really would hope that we could preserve that land intact, not put a high-density housing or any other sort of, or even develop as homes. It would be grand to maintain the wildlife, the butterflies, the bees, the sacred rocks, all that kind of thing, as they are in situ. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you. And thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for what you do with the cleanup. Appreciate it. Pete, you getting up to speak? All right, have a good evening. Thanks for coming down. Did anyone else want to speak that hasn't spoken?
Ward Brower.
All right, Steve, we'll bring you up after Ward.
Or
No,
you
you-
usually are the closing act. It's totally up to you, man.
Ward Brower, Conservation Commission member, and private senior citizen.
Senior citizen this time, huh?
When did you become senior?
On the conservation thing, the revisions to the tree code. Last time we had a meeting in public, and we, from the Conservation Commission, got to put inputs as well as the planners. I think we need that before we have a public hearing. That's just my comment.
Val will email it to you. Oh, that's right, you don't have email. Here, take my. draft.
Email,
Take mine.
We went through this before.
Take my draft, here. Stay there, I'll get it to you.
Look at that, huh?
That's service. That's why we elected him.
That's why.
God.
You could shoe service here. Thanks. And then the next thing is, as a confused senior citizen, and I understand when I joined the category of senior citizens that confusion is part of that life routine. But when the CCR law came about, as I said many times, it was on the agenda for almost 2 years. I couldn't figure out who asked for this thing, and I never did find out until the spring when I read an article on Times Herald Record, and it mentioned that there was a lawsuit against the town, alleging that our zoning is discriminatory against large, acidic, high-density dwellings. So then I'm even more confused. Because the CCR, as it explained to me, you get to preserve 60% of the land, but the groups that own it, who had the lawsuit, have never been known to preserve land, so how would that make the lawsuit go away? So this gets more confusing. We had a part about senior housing. Well, they represent a community, and I commend them, where senior housing is not a problem because seniors are part of an extended family. That's how life should be. That's my sidebar comment. So senior housing wouldn't interest us. So how did that make that lawsuit go away? Then workforce housing. Now I'm even more confused because these builders of the, I call it supersized family builders, they're never known for building houses for workers. It's generally low-cost housing for supersized families. And that's their mission in life. I understand that. So how did this CCR law make the lawsuit go away? I'm still confused. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Ward, do you want me to answer a couple of those quick questions?
Go ahead, answer, Mike.
All right. So,
Steve, come on up and sit down while he's answering, please.
Hey, Ward, just the CCR wasn't intended to make the lawsuit go away. What the CCR was intended to do was to build a variety of different housing mixes so that those numbers could sustain being clustered and built on a smaller portion of the land, so more of it could stay open, and you could get that value of the land out of it, if you want to say, that $16 million or whatever that price was. So, you can't get that by building 50 houses, you know what I mean? Unless, of course, they're 50 houses that are the size of, something in Beverly Hills or whatever. So that's why the CCR came about. And we, as being, residents here, looked at, all right, what do we need as a town? What do we need to, for future development or for future growth, for our future? We're all well, not all,
Speak for
certainly
yourself,
not Dory
Mike.
and Sal, but we're all approaching that senior realm. And we knew there was a big need for it. And it was something that people consistently asked about in the community. Even when we did the comp plan going back to way back when. So that's why the CCR was a way of saying, all right, we could have this type of zoning so that they could get a particular value out of that land that would pay for it, but also meet our needs as a town. And that's, we knew what we wanted there. So, and that's what we did. Thank you. Steve, sorry about that.
Go ahead, Steve.
Stephen Gornstein, Rye Hill Road, town of Monroe, and I'm losing my voice. Just wanted to share a few thoughts about the Rye Hill corridor. Progress and development are inevitable in a community, bringing both positive and negative elements along with it. The CCR floating zone concept seems to be a well-thought-out framework on paper, but as applied to the Rye Hill Preserve project, it just does not appear to produce a positive intended result. The project is too big, too complicated, and will likely create more negatives for the immediate community and the town. The Planning Board has outlined a number of shortcomings, lack of facts and information that needs to be addressed and responded to, both by the developer and the town board. Water, sewer availability, traffic, light pollution, education, blasting, lack of available services from EMS, police, and fire are just a few key concerns that need to be addressed. Our comprehensive plan calls for a neighborhood, quote, to be designed to blend with and preserve, not dominate the existing rural landscape, quote, unquote. Calling a development a preserve, in this case, is probably not what the plan meant. I don't think that apartment buildings, townhouses, clubhouses, etc. fit the bill. Those of us asking for the CCR to not be awarded to the Wright Hill Corridor are in favor of open space and its sensitivity to our natural environment. But saving a few trees and replacing that potentially with more than 1,000, maybe 1,500 people is not an environmentally sustainable choice. This area of our town is one of the last natural spaces close to the village that has not been developed. Apartment houses and townhouses do not fit in with what the citizens of Monroe are all about, having either grown up here, living here for many years, and moving here for the rural, now suburban character of the town. The plan to urbanize this area turns out to practically be far more negative and short-sighted than what we are used to in just allowing our typical large lot developments such as Briarcliff or Prestwick. If we all had our wishes, this land would be untouched and remain natural and sustainable. Certainly, there is enough high-density building going on all around us that we can't afford to replicate and add to. The decisions of the town board is our key to being the stewards of our environment. These decisions need to have foresight and cannot be rushed into. Intensive clustering of people will not ultimately enhance the quality of life that we are currently all here for, be it the natural environment, the educational qualities, the small town atmosphere, or any other reason that keeps us in Monroe. Too many residents, urbanization, and congestion is not going to make Monroe a place that one will want to come to. Please consider all these facts and do not award or land a CCR approval for this property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
That's all for public comment.
Anyone else like to speak? Nope, okay. I'd like to make a motion. Does anyone have anything else they wanted to say? Yeah, we got to go in executive section, yeah. I'd like to make the motion to go into executive session to review legal issues, lawsuit.
Not related to the Wright Hill Corridor.
Not related to the Wright Hill Corridor.
Poole will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, thank you all for attending tonight. You're welcome to stay, but appreciate all your words.
Ordinary citizens that are town board members, we're not, just trying to do our best.
We're not lining our pockets.
That was such bullshit.
I was gonna give it to you.
Who?
What she said.
No, I was,
Texting?
turning the heat down.
Yeah, I was passed out before.
And you keep it up, and I'll turn the heat up on you, pal, with your partner there. All right. I'll make a motion to return to our Monday, September 19th meeting.
Poole will second.
Call the question.
Poole, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Good night.
Okay. After discussion in executive session, there was no decisions needed to be made, no resolutions to be passed, and thus I will make a motion to adjourn our meeting at 9:35 p.m. Second. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Pool eye.
Cardone, aye.
Good night.